You see, there's that Nab Hill. There's that Nab Hill, looking through Dalton. And that is quite a unique shape as well, as if, and the thing is, it was actually shaped and outlined, even in the old maps and the old photographs when there were no houses around here. And there's not really any reason that a farmer would want to shape that, and there's kind of a walkway going up round it. Because prior to that, there wasn't really any farming and there was plenty of other fields. I don't see why a farmer would shape that into that shape. I think that's another kind of sort of lookout, sort of post settlement, shape settlement. There's Dalton Bank up there, which I was there the other day and I went walking up there. I've actually not even looked at it from here before. Definitely prominent. That's the whole kind of valley that where the ICI comes out on there. See that quarry up at Hopton? It's got some weird white quarry line going down it now that you can't really see that. You can only just see it above those chimneys. It looks like a big line, as if it's like a big snorting line, which is even worse. I don't know why council let them build it up there. This is a great place to view that round wood from Dalton. There's a bit of a road that goes down. Kids are just finishing school. It's actually a good time of year to look at the embankment, because in the summer it would all be leaves on the trees and you won't be able to see the actual embankment. And you can see the sort of road going up diagonally. The entrance was meant to have been at the other side actually. The proper entrance to it before they built that road up was supposed to be at the other side. So they massacred it. Now on the old maps, that's where the quarry is. So the old entrance, whatever shape it was and whatever form it was, has actually been quarried out. So you don't know how steep it was, what it was like, if it was like one of those like Oswestry Fort entries or something like that, which I think it likely was. And that stupid white line going down there that they've put up at the quarry is just further insult to this whole ICI, Imperial Chemical Industries, giving the hint and nod to it but ruining it. It's almost like, you know, it's not that big line of quarry that's completely ruined it, blocked off the public's view and appreciation of it and the Freemasons' arms, put houses on it, but got rubbish view, built this all up in between so you can't look at it properly, and then it's not that, you know, taking that view. It's actually scandalous. Ah, right, so there's a bit of a football field. Right, there's a bit of a football field. Didn't know about this football field. Right, oh, you get a really good view aroundwards from here. A stupid white quarry line. So I'm supposed to be, there's a guy next month supposed to be scheduling, he's a pilot and he's going to do some filming for me. Mainly the approach to Castle Hill that's a bit too long to do with the drone all in one go. I want it to do it all in one go. And now Boris has got the Boris plane apparently. So I don't know whether he's found out that I've got my own plane and he's going to try one-upmanship as usually Tories. Don't innovate, imitate. Imitate, Boris, imitate. Simon says, touch your knees. I've got a plane. Now Boris has got a plane. So now we get a really good perspective on that mound before all this was built up. I mean, it's not, it is somewhat disguised, because on this side here you've got the other hill that comes in, and with the trees on it kind of blends into that a bit, so it doesn't stand up that prominent at that side. Now if it didn't have the trees on it, that's a serious bit of earthworks and mound, that. And I don't think with a level top on it, it is to be ignored as just, oh, it happens to be there and not worked or shaped. I think that is, you know, when you drive past Oswestry, it's that size, it's that size, and actually Oswestry is only a little bit wider. I think that it could have had shaped surroundings around it, and it wouldn't have been too much of a job to smooth them off, but it would have been almost impossible to level it completely. And I can't believe that people aren't more aware of it. I've always been aware of it, because you can't not be aware of it when you drive past it. Like, oh, there's another mound there when you Castle Hill, and it's kind of flat top on. I know they put houses on there now, so it's definitely flat tops. And then you see all the other ones, like the one over there that I've just shown you before, and like, oh, that's a bit of a funny shape to have a field. Why would the farmer round it off like that? I mean, farmers got fields on the edge of everywhere, but he doesn't shape it and round it off into a special shape. And on the old photographs, it was that shape. And there wasn't hardly any there wasn't that much going on around there before. So for a farmer to have a field on the edge of somewhere, you know, he won't go that extra effort for appearance, whereas these people did go to the effort for appearance. I think there were multiple encampments here, like encampment there, and then we've got one as you come over the brow of the hill on the tops. You've got up there, and I think it was like these tiers, and there were quite a few hill fortish sort of size encampments, quite a few of them, and that's why I think it was the Brigantes headquarters. And I think there's it would make perfect sense with the two long barrow forms and on the edge of the Pennines. It would make complete and total sense. And the thing is, if you know, strategically, when the Romans are writing it down, they don't really want to. They don't like writing when they get beaten and when they lose. I mean, I think the Germans beat them, and they had to write it down because it was, you know, they didn't do well at all. But if the Romans got misled, right, and the Celts sent them, this is what I'm starting to think now. My theory is now that if they did get coal from Colchester, right, and they couldn't come in through Maiden Castle or Sisbury because it's too big, and we're talking like 2 or 3 times the width of that. Maiden Castle is like 1, 2, 3. I mean, Maiden Castle, it would be kind of like that whole ridge there, the whole thing, size. Now, this is what I think. He claims, that general claims that he went to the Brigantes headquarters, and he claims it was somewhere up Bury Bridge area or wherever, right? And there are earthworks there, but they're just kind of like not very interesting and not very significant at all. Anything like boom, 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 boom here, right? Now, if they were sent the wrong way, and if they did actually speak to someone who was called Cartamandua, and they did have coal with them as a hostage, but it wasn't the real proper headquarters, at least, if not the Brigantes of the Druids or whatever, which were on a mission to wipe out. If this was headquarters, and this actually physically has the physical traits and physical presence of a headquarters, because you've got 1, 2, 3 mounds and many other mounds surrounding, smaller encampment mounds as well, which is more suggestive and symbolic, particularly when you've got Brig House, the name, and Huddersfield. If he actually eventually did find out it was here later on, after they'd been sending him on a goose chase, he might have got pissed off, and it wouldn't look cool in the story in the Gallic Wars if he wrote, they sent me the wrong way up to, you know, Burbage or wherever it is, Ripon, whatever, and had a laugh at us, and then so, you know, because I'm stupid and gullible, and then we came back and, you know, burned them all to pieces and vandalised everything at Huddersfield, right, at Camberdunham. What he would do is, if he wanted to, you know, look cool and not look like, you know, he was misled and fooled, what I think he'd do is he would not write that, he'd miss that bit out and not even mention this place, because he didn't even want to acknowledge the power of that other class and those other people who want to acknowledge the existence of it, particularly headquarters. So that's why he writes all this bullshit about Jude Stronghold and Anglesey after he's been misled and tricked and like had the runaround for a while. But when he actually did find out it was here, and he has actually got the military force eventually, even though it's just quite big, there's quite a lot of forces here, but apparently they had all the military capacity. If we're even going to believe the story anyway, and it's not kind of complete total romancing and it was more of an agreement anyway, you know, obviously if he did go up to Boroughbridge and then get more of the Celts persuaded over, and you said like, you know, we've got an army and, you know, and then if he did either take more hostages or do some sort of strategic manoeuvre, then he might have come here and then skipped this bit out of the story, and then he might have you know, burned Castle Hill, which it's only 150 years off the archaeologists' estimation, but it's not, you know, it's not 500 years or 1,000 years off. It's, you know, one or two, it's like two people being alive off, which archaeologically, you know, if I dig some bones up and tell whether they're Neolithic or whether they're 5,000 BC, 10,000 BC, you know, or, you know, if they were buried 20 years ago, being on or off target by 150 years is not that far out, really. You know, one person's lifetime, two persons' lifetimes, it's a damn bloody good, accurate thing to say one or two people's lifetimes out. So, I think if that was burned and has got evidence of burning, it's likely that after they've been given a runaround, then they came here and they burned it, and they even said, right, we're going to fuck that up, and fuck that up as well. Now, we might have even had some places like Newgrange and Knowth. They could have been around the Castleford area. They could have been around Castleford, because there's like Drogheader, there's the Drogheader thing. There might have been some along that river further out, but there are some remains of some henges there anyway. But I don't think that, I think that, you know, those type of buildings are at where they are, that Gravitas one, whatever it's called, and the Knowth and Belsnap, and I think that, you know, I think that it's the actual hills that are the actual big Longbarrow Hills that he actually occupied are the equivalent in the Longbarrow network as what Knowth and Newgrange are equivalent in the whole, you know, Passage, Grave, Passage Tomb network. Because you've got different centres for different networks, specialisations. So that's what I kind of think. It's quite cool to see this here actually. It's definitely, you know, I mean, being at Oswestry, if that were just there, right, and there were nothing else around, then that's when you'd be in a position to say, you know, is it or isn't it? But with the Hill Fort Castle Hill, or if we call it Longbarrow, with the other one at Meltham, on the edge of the Pennines, where all the water runs off there and comes down to the river and goes to the sea, and these are right by the sea route, and then there's some other encampment looking spots as well. It's absolutely ridiculous that you've got places like Uffington, Whitehorse, and I'm not knocking them sites. I'm not knocking Uffington. It's beautiful, amazing, and magical with the White Horse and the encampment and the little Dragon Hill and the little smithy, the little Wayland smithy. But why is it that we don't get celebrated in this homage manner, with this tourism manner, American tourism manner or Stonehenge manner? Why is it that it's been banged houses on, built up around, they've got a big snorting lime quarry there that happened to block off the view from the Freemasons' Arms, yet the big guy with the stone gargoyles, football manager, got a mansion up there which is private. All the other views were blocked off. You can't look at it from over there, but it's the best view of Castle Hill, really, the most majestic one. Why do all that? You know, it's clearly, they acknowledge it because they've got the ICI, Imperial Chemical Industries, and they've got the big Emily Moore mast, transmitter, the tallest building in Europe. Is it mocking? Is it, if it's a homage, why is it only the modern sense can be, you know, what all we've got is a poor gritty car park at the top of Castle Hill, a pub that was a free house, you know, whether you like it or not, got booted off, and knocked down. Various planning permission corruption going on, greenbelt arguments ongoing for many, many years. Why do we get that when, you know, Oswestry gets the Heritage Trust protecting the site? You know, you get the National Trust looking after another site. You know, there's a few arguments with Stonehenge over the road, but there aren't, not in the same way. It's still, you know, celebrated and museums and come to see it. You know, we don't have stones here, or there aren't any stones left. There's meant to be some at Marsden Moor, actually, some stones that I might have to go and look at. But why is it that this isn't even recognised for it now, when clearly it's within 3.5 kilometres of the other site, and it's blatantly obvious? It's Brig House. I mean, only a fool would. Why would you put houses on it and then build houses round it in a manner so as not to be able to even appreciate it? And then when you look out from it, you haven't even made everyone something nice to look out at anyway. It has been rubbished and vandalised. This is the problem, you know. And it's only from driving past Old Oswestry every week when I used to go there, and going to, you know, Maiden Castle and places like that. If you're just born here and you just grow up kicking a football around and walking a dog around the park, what pride has Barry Shearman got in your area? I mean, how can Barry Shearman say, oh yeah, well, I built you all these council houses, you know, you've got all these houses now, and you know, and a couple of them are on the top of the thing, but they can't even sit out properly because of the trees, and we can't see them properly, you know, and then we've got a big snorting line up there in the quarry. I mean, what is the pride of Shearman? Is this football field here winning football team matches? What is Shearman's pride? What does Shearman have to show other than going to a football Huddersfield Town match with a scarf on? They were going to the Premiership for a short while, then got booted out. The media centre that is in a square tech building that's almost like the Borg with the bad guys on Star Trek, so he's got nothing to show to Patrick Stewart about. What is Shearman's jewel in the crown, the City Cafe? You know, it's almost like having, you know, a jewel and chipping it a bit and then scratching it and then saying, oh, look at that now, you know, look at that, you know, now it's a jewel, you know, don't polish it up, don't polish your jewels up. But what is it with Shearman? Who's paid him off? Who slipped him the money in his wallet and the backhanders? You know, what has he had in his life? Did he get invited to the Tory parties or the Labour parties? Now they've booted Corbyn out. You know, what have they? Corbyn clearly has not been paid off and bought. Keir Starmer has, you know, he's Neil before Zod. What does Shearman? What's his passion and pride other than a mess? You know, and looking at those old photographs we've got, it could easily have not been a mess. We've got a river on there. You could have had punts on there. At that stage, it wasn't completely taken over by mills, and you only have a working class when you've created one, right? And I think they wanted to create and build and subject the local people of this county into the factories and mills as a power statement to say, you know, we'll have the brigantes polishing his boots, shining his shoes, working in his chemical factories, you know, shuttling shuttlecocks around all day, you know. I think that's what the aim and goal was. You know, when at that stage, back then with them photographs, it could have been, you know, built up nice places around here, you know, somewhere to appreciate it with the view and commemorate it, and they could have built nice houses and put people in those houses, and they would have liked those houses, and they could have been proud of it. We could have had punts going up and down the river there, you know. A lot of river places were having stuff like that. It would have been beautiful, Aspley Marina. But I don't know what it is with Shearman. I don't know what he's clinging on to. Is he clinging on to, oh, I'm an hard worker? Well, you are an hard worker when you're Tory's boot boy, you know. Work, Shearman, work, you boot boy, boots boy. Polish my boots, Shearman. Polish them. You know, what is it with Shearman? You know, I think it's shameful to be completely conquered and dominated and then be a boot boy for the Tories, and then kind of walk around and say, you know, West Yorkshire, Huddersfield Town chairman. It's almost like, you know, he has been sheared and, you know, he's got Tory tattooed on his head, walking around, and he's like walking around, you know, saying Huddersfield, Labour, when he's got like a Tory tattoo on his forehead, you know, with a barcode, scan it, beep, Tory product, you know, boot boy chairman. You know, it's tragic. It's a tragedy for West Yorkshire. It's not to be proud of. I don't think it is. And now the fact that everyone's arguing about pubs and cafes, alcohol, you know, getting intoxicated or getting, you know, filled up with ice cream. That's what's on the agenda. That's what people are interested in, and that's what Shearman's team have been making: beer, booze, ice creams. And it's not making Shearman's working army fit, it's making them unfit. So, you know, he's not going to be in a position when Boris says, you know, Boris has got to win everything and have the latest things. You know, if you've got anything that, if you do or have anything, the Tories have got to, you know, imitate it, and they're not actually outdo it, do one better. You know, don't innovate, imitate. That's the problem. And this is what gets me as well, right? This field here is absolutely huge, right? They've left this field to play on, right? It's absolutely massive area, school field. And they've got the actual school itself over there, which has got now a fence around it. Massive green areas right next to it. Now, I've done that video about that woodland over there, which didn't have houses put on it, even though the chock-a-block filled all there, right? And over there they've left some woods, and it actually, from the air, it disguises it because it stops you noticing what it actually is, that because of that other decoy over there. And then there's another field further on that had a tree that was struck by lightning in it. They've left that as well, right? Now that school's got its own playing field, so you don't actually, school children don't need this. It has got football field and stuff, but the school's got its own. Now, wouldn't it have been better, right? That was all fields on there at one point, because people said they were actually, when they were little, they went up there and played on there because they can actually remember. Why didn't the council, right, have a football field, soccer on the top of there, where everyone could go to and sit up there and have picnics and have a nice view, right, and then build the houses down here, around here, because then everyone in the area could go up there and be up there, not just, you know, a few houses. And then why didn't they build houses where they saved those trees at that part there, what I went to the other day, and where that lightning tree was struck? Why they put them there? I can't believe how they got it through. I can't believe anyone didn't object to it. I'd like to see what objections there were and what was in the newspapers at the time, in the early 70s. Was there anything in the Huddersfield Examiner about it? You know, or did they slip it by kind of quietly? Was it done before I was born? Was it done at the early 70s? Obviously it was after the war, but the war started when Valley started excavating. He spent quite a bit of time excavating. Probably it's probably what he spent a lot of his life doing up there. So, you know, why it baffles. It really does baffle. When all these people from all these houses around here could have gone up, and kids could have had a football field on the top, and they could have said, oh yeah, we're up here, you know, it's our place to go up and play sports. So that's the place up there that I mentioned. It's got the shape of an Edger encampment, and then that other one that I pointed out over there, that Nab Hill on the other side. All these Huddersfield tiers, there are all these tier shapes, as if it's almost like similar to when you watch Lord of the Rings and you look at that Lothlorien place, or one of the places in Lord of the Rings when you've got all these kind of ridges with encampments on them, but like the real deal, actually back in the Celtic times. This is what Shearman and the council's idea is of a commemoration, dumping that wheel there. You see, if you've got sides like Oswestry, right, it will go up and down like V-shape, you know, like ripples. It's actually, all you've got to do is take the peak of the ripple off and fill it into the shallow bit of the ripple. So all you're actually doing is with your surrounding earthwork shape is you're actually filling it in, and the material you can fill it in with is already there, because it's just the high peaks of it. So if you all you've got to do is, you know, take the peaks, knock the peaks into the valley bits all the way around, and that'll fill it in, and it's a lot easier to do. And then just move it off, it just looks like more like a natural mound. Then it's actually easier to do that than it is to change the gradient of the top. Because if the entire top of it's already flat and occupied to live on, which probably took, you know, a long time to do, then if you wanted to, the quickest and easiest thing to do would be to take the peaks off the surrounding ripples and fill in the shallow parts with it and smooth it off. Because you ain't gonna, it's gonna take more than just a couple of, you know, regiments to even do anything to the top part of it. If it's flat and that big, it's just too big. You might have been able to make it a bit smaller. They might have actually used the perimeter of the top and made the perimeter of the top, brought that in a bit, in part filling downwards, and then with the other, depending on how many rings you had around it. If it was anything like Oswestry, it would have been a little bit wider at the top. Not that much actually. It would only have to go out maybe a house or two from each side, which isn't much when you look at the entire size of it all. I think what you could actually do, you know what you could actually do? I think you could measure the gradient, you know, like the mean slope of Oswestry. The mean slope is the average gradient from top to bottom, regardless of peaks and troughs, right? If you could calculate the mean gradient from top to bottom, and if you filled it in evenly, what gradient would it be, and what is the height? And I think that it might calculate that is about the mean gradient. And I think that over proportion and size, if you calculated it, and calculated a few sites, if you calculate a few sites like, you know, Oswestry, Cadbury, Maiden Castle, even though it's on a bigger scale, I think that if you actually measure what the gradient of that is now, to measure those gradients, if it is about the same gradient and not completely random one, if it's somewhere quite within that range, I think then that would be evidence to say that that wasn't the original shape man-like, and maybe it was filled in around. I mean, particularly when you've already got the material there on the you know, on the sides. Because, like you say, you just take the top off the peaks and of the ridges and fill in with it, and actually filling in with some from around the top edge would make it a bit smaller as well at the same time. I just don't know what was happening. Maybe you know, with all that, with all the IRA kicking off, after the first, you know, when it was around the time when King George came to sign that visitors book at the ICI, Imperial Chemical Industries, and that's around the time that the IRA were first having a lot of trouble. Now, with all those troubles and a bit of friction, and then obviously people in England, particularly around here, are kind of disliking it in a way, you know, through media and things like that, then I think that maybe the local attitude towards the Irish and Celt heritage was not that popular, maybe, you know, particularly if you're downplaying its significance and importance. You see, if it was in summer now, I won't be able to see the shape of the hill. I won't be able to see through the trees. It is high up. You see, it's more difficult to notice the height of Oswestry because of the, you know, all the different levels on the way up kind of distract from the overall height of it. I'd like to know what the overall height of Oswestry is. But this is like a presence. It's a presence very much like Oswestry. Maybe it could be steeper. Could be. It may be higher, but I'm gonna go and try and find out what the exact height of it is. See right through all the trees now. Won't be able to see through them if it was summer. Kind of going to look a bit sketchy filming these houses, I think. The guy just walked out with a pram. Go like through the. I feel a bit sort of dodgy filming the houses, but it's likely this that inspired the Murfield Mound. It likely inspired De Lacy to build the Murfield one. De Lacy might have, it could have been the De Lacys that did so much to it and smoothed it over. And it would have been, but it would have been a lot more of a job than just building a little bit of fortifications around Castle Hill. Apparently, I think Varley did write some. I think Varley did mention this, so I kind of should write it really to see what he says about it. But if this, this is what Austria, this now is what Oswestry are passionately battling against. Passionately battling for it. And back then there was not really any need. There's all up there, all the higher place where you can have nicer views, higher up on the hill where they could have built. Why didn't they build up there? You see, they could have built houses all up there, expanded Kirkheaton and Lepton at the time. But they didn't, did they? Which is quite unusual. I think I might go up this, might have a walk up this road here. Actually, I've never been up here. This is called Albany Drive, you see, and on the map, on the old map, it's Upper Helm, which is the same name as the Dunelm. But there is oh, I lost that guy. I lost him. So, I'm kind of like just interested in the hill, I'm just interested in the hill. The hill? Yeah, because some people were saying that they can remember that they used to play up there. Yeah, some people are saying that they used to play up there when they were little, before the 70s. Oh, well. Can you remember going up there? Oh, you didn't? Oh, right, okay then. I just thought you might have remembered since before, like. What are you doing? Well, actually, I'm tying it into Castle Hill, as well. Just for making a few videos, because oh, sorry. You can see a bit of the mount through the trees there. It's just coming towards the front pinnacle of it there. It is actually quite big. There is a river on the back of here though. I don't know how. Because it's kind of like uphill. That's actually quite a nice house. Oh, you can. I'm not too sure if this is somebody's house and garden, but you can get onto the. So this is right the sort of front pinnacle of it. It still is quite uphill here. This part here was part of it still. This part here was still part of the mound before the tarmacked it. Wonder if he's gonna knock on his door. He's got a gate onto it. I think I'm just gonna go onto it because it is somebody's private garden. I think that quarry removed some evidence of actual access, original access. Or just a trail walk up like this. See, Elon Musk could. Oh, that's where the river is, right this side here. So the houses only go up to it. Elon Musk could. Oh, there's water. So if that water, you could literally hop off onto it on this side. Elon Musk could buy all these houses around here and not even impact his bank account, even though he's lost billions. Elon Musk has lost billions recently, but he could still afford to buy all the houses around here and on top without much of a problem. Where's that quarrying area? I think it's right around this site, further up, but I don't know how you got to it. Well, I've seen the top of it because when I went to the top, it's all quarried in. There's something was dug out of that. Either they were trying to look inside it or. I wonder if you could actually do an archaeological investigation to see if it has been filled in at certain points. That's steep, that. You see, if it was this steep, you don't even need any more further peaks and valleys of earthwork. This is the side I think that's been toyed around with. Around this side. This is where I went. I was down here the other day. All that's been dug out. This is meant to be. See, this is where it's more misshapen now, and it looks like it's just been dug out, and then that just drops down there, because that's where there's a load of rubbish up there. That's where there's some storage units, and it's all been quarried out of that side. They didn't do much quarrying here. I think they might have actually dug out this whole bit here, to be honest. That's what it is. Actually, that would have gone down, see, like there? Can you see that gradient there? Going down there? That's how this would have all come down here. From there up to there, in where my hand's going. But that's all been taken out. And it may well have had some sort of, you know, more approachable entrance to it. Or if not straight directly up, you know, left and right and left and right. So you can see what it's supposed to go like. It's supposed to be like that because that's how it is all the way around. All the way, why would it be like that all the way around but not here where the coin is? So I think that it has been substantially, there was a reason behind it and an intent behind it, not just, you know, you could go coin anywhere. You know, they wanted to have a go at it. And they've hacked all this side out of it here. From there, all this here would have been solid like that. Because you can see there it goes up there. Why don't we just stop here? So you've got that gradient going down there, matches that gradient going down there. And then here, you've got a massive bit taken out of it. You know, they couldn't have done the whole thing. Maybe they started to have a go at it, and then maybe someone stopped them, I'm not sure. I think they really wanted to, I think someone wanted to do the whole thing, you know, knacker the entire thing. And maybe they weren't getting anywhere with it, or somebody were intervening, you know. There's the houses. People were going up there and playing, so all this bit missing here could have been some important archaeological facts or finds, other than completely getting rid of it, you know, to do with the shape and gradient of it. Maybe there are some records, but this is definitely where they took out of it. Up there are the storage units, and it's quite a lot of litter and rubbish. All this part's missing here as well. All in there. And all that down there as well. So you've got bits missing out of all this side, and there being taken out. I think that stream definitely, that goes all the way, it joins onto the river then, where the ICI is. And all that was country, a lot of it was countryside, where they had the Great Yorkshire Show there even, which is something. It meant something to someone at that point, whether they were like just softening them up a bit, softening them up before they gave him even a harder slap. Beautiful river this, really beautiful little stream coming past the bottom of it. Really, really nice. Some of the others have been changed, the routes of some of the others. I think this one came past here originally because it's on the old map. And actually, this is where he might have. This is the part he wrote the writing on. When he puts that writing, and you can't exactly read it. It looks almost like burial or something. Maybe it was considered to be after it's been vandalised. Misshaped at this side, and then the rest of it is, well, right after that. The other sides are okay, which, beautiful stream. You see Oswestry Street, I don't know if Oswestry's got a stream that close to it, directly at the bottom of it, running water. I think all this side. So it's a bit sad to see this riverbed now, little stream even, come past what is likely to have been one of the most significant Celtic strongholds, the Brigantes, the Brig House, the actual Brig House, next to Castle Hill, the long barrow and 2 long barrows, joining onto the main river, where it goes to the ocean. And now it's just behind all these houses with houses on it. No one sees it or thinks about it really. Relevance. Yet you've got all the little tiny chapels, the little long barrows, Sturdy Littleton, Bellasnap, the little ones in Ireland dotted around the coasts. Even though they've got their central bases as well, like North and Newgrange, but you know, it's the whole culture around Uffington and Wiltshire and Avebury and everything. We just don't have anything like that here, and it's just so, you know, upsetting, and not that many people are interested or really that bothered about helping you to protect it or anything, whereas there's so many followers for Uffington and Stonehenge. And then we're on the road. We're just on a road. And that's the Brig House. That's what is left of the Brig House. And the Camberdunham, fought by the bend in the river. And not to mention, don't forget to mention the long barrows, 2 of them. The river gets a mention. At least there's a bit of woodland around it. I can't believe they put houses on there. It's got to have been because of all the IRA goings on, and I wouldn't have been if that was kind of some sort of fabricated, or it's like what's going on now with Russia, basically. Similar, they got another country to have a bit of a conflict, like, you know, Northern Ireland and England. It's almost like that in Russia, and they got Ukraine and Russia. Never, there's more distractions, always. Can we not try and, have we not got to a point where we understand what's going on and we need to get rid of the distractions? Well, not get rid of them, but acknowledge that it's, you know, conveniently Brexit, then pandemic, then Ukraine war, with a nice little ordered, like, form an orderly queue, you know, they all kick off at once. There's a pandemic at the same time as a Russian war at the same time. Even the Crown Motors has closed down now. I don't know how long that's been there, since the 70s. I mean, even Crown Motor Parts, it's just further comedy. What, you know, why? I don't know if it is the opposite of praise or what. So much effort made to obstruct the view. Calculated effort, collaborated and calculated effort to hide. That's going to be the best real view you're going to get of it, of the grading of it, of a wide area of grading of it through the trees. When obviously, or else you're not going to be able to see the trees, because it's going to be summer. See through the trees.